sorry for my voice, but I have never seen anything like it.
The game over. You believe in miracles? Yes! Unbelievable.
Welcome back to the show. Busy weekend as always for everyone, so thank you for checking in. I know there's a lot of great NBA podcasts out there. Believe me, I know I listen to all of them. So thanks for checking ours out. It does mean a lot to us. It means even more if you send the content to some of your friends, get them involved too. Show's always growing and expanding. The only way we can do that is with your help. All right, so a lot of big NBA storylines happening this weekend. We're going to start with the Houston and Boston game that made me tear my hair out, the little hair I have left. Talk a little bit about Ja Morant. Of course, got to talk about Giannis, the incredible game he had on Sunday, 76ers and Clippers, and then, of course, got to mention LeBron at the end of the podcast. So let's talk Rockets Celtics. All right, so this game, Saturday night, I just want to start off by saying I am now debating constantly in my head who is more annoying, the Jump Crew or NBA Countdown. I remember, and I hate to be the old guy on my lawn, but I remember the NBA Countdown being something that I looked forward to every NBA game. I look forward to it as much or more than some of those crappy games they put on. You know, who really cares about what the Utah Jazz are doing? I'm here to see Magic and Bill Simmons and Jalen Rose. Now NBA Countdown is Maria Taylor, who's very talented, but I don't really care what Jay Williams or really any of those guys have to say outside of Jalen. Jalen Rose is the only dude who I hear consistently. I'm here consistently for his content. I'm not really caring what Paul Pierce has to say, not really caring what Jay Williams has to say. Let's go over to the jump. Rachel Nichols, excellent reporter. I kind of am getting a little tired of these fluff interviews that she does with these players. I get it, ESPN's pro player. I get it that she is clearly the reporter who's going to get the NBA players' side of the story. She's not going to get the side of the story from the front office. That's more of Wojnarowski's corner. So it's good to have Woj and Rachel. So you're going to get all sides of every story. I get it. Like, that makes sense. But I am getting a little bit tired of some of these puff piece interviews. And I get it, you know, sometimes that there's a player who has a really good story and you want to tell it, so we bring her out there. But, you know, I thought she did a lot better job being a journalist and a lot better job of setting up, you know, tough questions. And I have yet to hear a tough question asked in one of those sit-down interviews she does for The Jump. So that was the first thing immediately that I was, like, kind of pulling my hair out. Then the other thing is, too, Paul Pierce is by far one of the worst people in the industry when it comes to doing this, like, commentary stuff. Like, he is consistently wrong. I'm a Boston Celtic fan, and I get tired of hearing his Celtic pride, the Celtic stuff. T-Mac is the same way that I feel about Jalen. T-Mac's the only dude that I'm like, okay, I'm here to hear what T-Mac has to say. The dude's a legitimate Hall of Famer. The guy had to deal with injuries. The guy had played for some of the most fun teams in league history. He's got enough credibility under his belt so that he can say and he can do what he wants. But Paul Pierce, in my opinion, doesn't have that. He never has been a very good interview to me. He's never been a very good commentator to me. He's not. I don't like some of the stuff that he does on The Jump. I don't like some of the condescending stuff that he does when he talks about some of the players. It's cool when Charles and Shaq do it, but when you're trying to jump in that shtick too, it just doesn't fit for me. That is immediately what I have to say to start this podcast, because that is the thing that has been bothering me for the longest time, and I wanted to get it off my chest. The game, however, was fun. The Celtics blew this game like they blew the Lakers games, like they've blown the Clippers games. They have consistently found a way to lose to these Western Conference teams that they potentially are going to be playing in the NBA Finals if they can get there. Now, this is going to sound kind of... I don't want to make this sound pessimistic, because I am trying to be more positive just in general, but I feel pessimistic when I talk about Jason Tatum. Tatum, if you've listened to other podcasts, if you've read enough of these reports that come out, everybody is ready to put the crown on this kid's head. And shoot, when he dunked on LeBron in 2017, I was here for it too. Or 18, I'm sorry. I was here for it too. I thought that he was the guy. I really liked the way that he played. Kyrie went out. He stepped up. He played the alpha position. He did everything you needed him to. But I think it's pretty premature right now. He has a couple of really good games back-to-back-to-back, and we're trying to put the crown on the head of superstar. You know who has really good games back-to-back-to-back? Devin Booker. Nobody's saying Devin Booker is the best player on a championship team. You know who has really good games back-to-back-to-back? Karl-Anthony Towns. Karl-Anthony Towns has had some really impressive games back-to-back-to-back statistically. But nobody's saying Karl-Anthony Towns is the dude that's going to be the best player on a championship team. Now, I get it. Tatum's on the Celtics. The Celtics have a better roster. They have a better coach. They have a better front office. So he is probably going to be put in positions to win titles, whereas those other two guys are never going to be in position to win titles in the situations that they're in. So I get it that we want to say he could be the best player on a championship team, but I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen that, and this game against the Rockets proved it to me even more. He didn't necessarily miss the game-winning shot. He did not necessarily make the game-losing play, but he shot 7 of 20 at one point in that fourth quarter. That was this number that went up across the bottom of the screen. And if Harden's going to struggle too, you can have a game like that. But I was completely wrong, and I'll own up to it. I thought the small ball thing wasn't going to work in Houston, and it has. They figured it out. They don't need the center. You take the center off the court. Russ does what he does best. Hunts for rebounds, can get to the rim. Capella was taking up too much space. PJ Tucker doesn't. He's able to spread the floor a little bit more. I still think that in the playoffs, when you run up against a team that has a pretty good center, like Gobert, like Nikola Jokic, you're going to have some trouble defensively against those type of guys. But offensively, not having a big man down low, it works for the Rockets. It works for him, especially when Russ can't shoot outside very well. If he can get to the rim, he can get a running start at the rim, even better. So I was wrong about that. But when Harden struggles, Tatum plays really good defense on him all game. Jalen plays really good defense on him all game. When Harden struggles, best player on the court, you need to step up, Jason Tatum, and he didn't do that in that Rockets game. Didn't do it really very well in the Clippers game either. And in the Lakers game, of course, he had a really good stat line, but the Celtics still ended up losing. So the other big thing about that Celtics loss is it just shows me how much the Celtics need Kemba Walker. And unlike Kyrie, who went down last year and didn't really play very well, he kind of was looking at the door the entire year, trying to figure out how he was going to get out of Boston. Unlike that situation, or the year before when he went out for the playoffs, this team needs Kemba Walker. They need him to unlock that next part of their offense. He is a very good offensive, I don't know what to call him, because he feels like he's the gatekeeper with all the keys, that he can get you into any door. He can make any offense work that the Celtics put on the floor. If Tice is struggling and they put out another center, he's the point guard that can get him involved. If Tatum fouls out or Tatum gets in foul trouble and they need to run Gordon Hayward at that 3 and they move somebody else in, move Cantor in at the 4, then he's the type of dude that can make Cantor work too. But with Kemba being out, it feels like this entire offense kind of has handcuffs on. And I like Romeo Langford, and I like Marcus Smart, but those guys clearly don't have that capability of getting the Celtics to that next level. So in this game, it should have been won by the Celtics 5 different ways. They had a lead early that they weren't able to hang on to because Russell Westbrook just went supernova, ended up scoring, I want to say, 41 points. Harden, again, like I mentioned, struggled, but the Celtics never were able to put their foot on the Rockets' throat. And again, this is concerning to me because I think that they are, if not one of the 3 best teams in the East. I think the Raptors, them, and the Bucks are the 3 best teams in the East. If they can't put their foot on these teams' throats in games that are winnable, it makes me very anxious when they play in the NBA Finals, if they get to the NBA Finals. If they can't beat a team when they had them against the ropes, how can we expect them to win important games? That's where I'm at right now with this team. Now, Jaylen Brown's 3 to tie the game felt big. It felt like the type of thing that if the Celtics ended up winning that game was going to be a momentum shifter and shift them into that next gear as they go down the second half of the season. Or the last stretch of the season. I don't want to overreact. We're not going to overreact. But keep an eye out for Kemba coming back, because the minute he comes back and we can see him play with this team and how good that knee is, then we can put are the Celtics going to shit the bed in the playoffs talks aside. But if he doesn't come back in the next 2 or 3 games, I would start being concerned, because he needs to be at 110% when the playoffs roll around. All right, let's move on to John Morant, who famously said his father was his first hater. That made him, endeared him to me, at least. I really liked him. But he's got this beef now with the internet. And I think it's very interesting where we are. A guy looks like he's probably in his mid-50s, 144 followers on Twitter.com, tweets at this guy saying that John Morant, who I want to say like 19 or 20, has lost the fire in his belly. So this is an infactual, no sources, clear bias type of take on an app that is full of that type of rhetoric. But John Morant saw it because it was directed at him, and he said he had a big game on Saturday night, and he dedicated it to the Twitter user who said he lost the fire in his belly. First off, this only empowers me as an NBA fan to tweet at my favorite players and tell them that they're bums when they have a bad game. I get it a lot. People tell me, well, they're professional athletes, and, this is their career, this is their life, this is their job. If you struggled at your accounting firm, Zimmel, if you had a bad podcast and they tweeted at you and said, pick it up, you bum, you'd feel bad. But I also would get better. And this guy with 144 followers was able to ignite a spark under John Morant that propelled him to a next level. Now, can he play at this level all the time? No. Nobody can play at the high level that Ja has been able to play at when people really, poke his gills. If he can get to that next level all the time, he's going to be the best point guard in the NBA, without a doubt. He already has bunnies, unlike a lot of the guys. He reminds me a lot, and I don't want to jinx it here. He reminds me a lot of Derrick Rose, a young Derrick Rose. His ability to get teammates involved, his ability to move up and down the court. Nobody said it yet. I'm the only person who has been brave enough to compare him to Derrick Rose. I hope that he is more healthy than Rose. I hope that he's able to have a longer prime that Derrick Rose had. But he gives me big Derrick Rose vibes. Not only from his ability to jump, but again, from his ability to score a lot of different ways and get teammates involved. Let's move on to Giannis' game Sunday night. 41, 20, and 6 in 35 minutes of action. This is the fewest minutes played in a 40-25 game in NBA history. He's the first Milwaukee Buck since Kareem did it in 1974, and he's only the third player in the last 30 years to do it. DeMarcus Cousins did it twice. Chris Webber did it. He's the youngest since Barkley in 87, who was 23 years old. What does all this mean? What can we take away from this moving forward? Well, here's the biggest one. This guy is a 7-foot unskilled guy who can just dunk the ball. Is, if not one of the most asinine statements that any NBA player has said when talking about another one. Look, professional athletes say dumb shit all the time. They do dumb things. They say dumb things. And as a media member and as media, we have to ingest it. And a lot of times it doesn't get printed. A lot of times reporters are smart enough to realize, hey, so-and-so said this. Clearly they didn't mean it. Clearly this was the heat of the battle still. Clearly this was them just talking at their locker. There's no way that we could post this. You get rid of it. Now, I prefer that. I think that that's a smarter thing to do. I think that that is the right thing to do in a lot of circumstances. In this case, again, the aforementioned Rachel Nichols had this sit-down interview with Harden. Clearly it was for clickbait. He starts this beef with the reigning MVP. Giannis is the best player in basketball right now. I love James Harden. I think he's very good. LeBron is my guy. Russell Westbrook has played at a very good level. Embiid's another dude that's, if he can stay on the court, it's a lot of fun to watch. But nobody's playing basketball better than Giannis Antetokounmpo right now. He is, in lack of a better word, a freak. Okay? Nobody's doing the things that he's able to do on the basketball court. So when Harden said that about Giannis, immediately I said, well, this is going to start a dumb rivalry with Houston fans who already are one of the worst fan bases on the internet. They're very vitriol. They're very angry. They're a group of people who have seen their team come so close to the top of the mountaintop so many times and yet not make it there. The majority of Houston Rockets fans on social media are under the age of 25, meaning they do not remember or they have not seen the Houston Rockets raise a title. They don't have the same luxury that Dallas Mavericks fans have, to the agony of defeat and the thrill of victory. They don't have the luxury of Spurs fans who have seen their teams win multiple titles. They have the luxury of a lot of fan bases who have at least seen their teams compete for NBA titles, and if not compete for NBA titles, at least be fun to watch. Nobody is watching a Houston Rocket game right now and saying, wow, that's a really fun team to watch. I watched a team that played my Boston Celtics on Saturday night. Not a fun team to watch. A lot of bad shots, a lot of shots that didn't make a lot of sense, a lot of iso ball. It's not fun. It's not a fun thing to watch. And Houston Rockets fans, if you never win a title, this is what you're stuck with. This is the albatross around your neck that you watch bad basketball for the last decade. But let's talk more about Giannis, who's quote-unquote unskilled. Giannis Antetokounmpo not only had 41 points and 20 rebounds, but the 6 assists is really what stands out to me. Because outside of Chris Middleton, this roster is very average. This is a roster who has a lot of named guys, the Lopez brothers, Bledsoe. They've got guys who you know their name, you recognize their face. But every couple years, this happens in the NBA, where there's an NBA team with a bunch of guys who you remember playing with in 2K. You might have had their basketball card at some point. You might have seen them play in college. But they're beyond their prime. That they don't have much of a impact on an NBA game. And that's what the Milwaukee Bucks roster is made out of outside of Giannis. Now, I don't think that Giannis is going to leave Milwaukee. In fact, I hope that he doesn't. I think that he's very good for the sport playing in Milwaukee. I think he helps the industry in Milwaukee. I think that it helps the sports industrial complex, I like to call it. If he is in Milwaukee, that means fans have to go there to watch him play. That means the media has to go there to cover him. It's good to make media members move out of their comfort zone. We joke about this all the time, that if it was up to the media, every game would be played in South Beach or LA, because it's where they work. It's a fun place to be. Moving the NBA countdowns of the world, moving the jumps of the world, moving the TNTs of the world to Milwaukee to make them cover the Bucks is only right. I enjoy making those people suffer. So I need Giannis to stay in Milwaukee. The game that he had today against the Hornets proves to me that he is not only the best player in the NBA, but he is a man on a mission for blood. He reminds me a lot of Patrick Mahomes in that they're both the best at what they do at their craft. They both have a very excellent set of skills, and they both got spurned last year in the playoffs. So Patrick Mahomes, of course, did everything he could in the AFC Championship game a season ago to win the AFC Championship game, only for D4 to jump off sides and the Patriots to have a chance to win it. Milwaukee was up 2 games on the Raptors, and then they lost 4 in a row. Both of those situations leaves our protagonist wanting to more, going in the offseason and saying, I don't want to feel that feeling again. Patrick Mahomes did. He raised the Super Bowl trophy this year. I feel Giannis is in that similar camp, that he's going to have the type of season the rest of the way and into the playoffs that's going to be a big FU to the team that lost last year. This is the type of team, it's a redemption team. And I think that this team only goes as far as Giannis can take them, and I think that he's the type of dude that can put the team on his back and carry them for a far ways. Let's talk 76ers real quickly against the Clippers. A guy by the name of Shake Milton, who you didn't know before opening tip, he starts for the 76ers in place of Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons is suffering from a lower back injury that they say could take a month, which would make me very nervous if I was a 76ers fan. You miss the entire month of March. Going into April when the playoffs start, you have a rusty Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid who might not be at full speed. And this goes back to what I've said multiple times on this podcast, that when you split up that pair, you're either going to get a massive haul for him or you're not going to get anything at all. And Ben Simmons, if this big back injury is as bad as people are kind of guessing it might be, you might be in a very bad situation if you're the 76ers. So neither Simmons or Embiid plays in this game against the Clippers. I said immediately out loud to my family I was watching it with, I said that this is going to be a 30-point game, that the Clippers should blow this team out. Well, here's the problem. They didn't. And this is a team that was fully healthy. Kawhi's fully healthy. Paul George is fully healthy. Lou Will's coming off the bench. Pat Bev's playing. this is a team that should, and I emphasize should, be winning games by 20, 25 points, especially a team like the 76ers who are missing some big pieces. The fact that they didn't gives me some pause. Now, the 76ers still had Tobias Harris. They still had Al Horford. Neither one of those guys, I thought, made an incredible impact. Milton having almost a 40-point game, of course, kept them in it. He hit 7 threes in a row at one point. But if I'm the Clippers and if I'm a Clipper fan, I'm nervous. Because everybody said before that the Clippers are more talented than the Lakers. The Clippers have more firepower than the Lakers. The Clippers should be the better team when it comes to the playoffs. But the Lakers now have the number 1 seed in the West, so they're going to have home court. And I know home court doesn't matter if the Clippers and Lakers meet up in the playoffs because they play in the same arena. They share the same fans for the most part. So it's not going to matter all that much. But I think that if LA, the Clippers, have to go on the road as a 3 seed against a 2 seed, say Houston, I think that might make a difference. Because especially if Houston hits in all cylinders like they're looking right now. Look, I don't think that Kawhi and Paul George are going to stay healthy the entire playoffs. I think one of them or both of them are going to go out at some point. And once that happens, this Clippers team is going to be dead in the water. That said, if they are healthy and they are competing at the highest level, then I still think that this is a team that's going to be knocking on the door of the Western Conference Finals, but I don't love their chances. Because if they can't beat a team, this shorthanded 76ers team, if they can't beat them handily in February, how can I put money on them? How can I put trust in them come April? I haven't seen enough, and they've only played, I want to say, 10 to 15 games altogether where everybody plays, everybody's healthy. I'm not in love with it. So very quickly, Lakers and Pelicans, and then we'll wrap this up. Game ends in a Lakers win. The Lakers looked like the better team the entire game. The Lakers didn't have Anthony Davis. What does that mean in the long term? It means that he got a good night off. Because if the Lakers lost that game to the Pelicans, I would be very nervous. LeBron has 24. Kyle Kuzma has 20. Caldwell Pope comes off the bench with 13. Morris has 10. Everybody played pretty consistently throughout the game. If every starter can get 10 and a couple guys on the bench can get double digits, that's really what matters. Zion had 35 while Kuzma was playing mostly defense on him. I'm not really in love with Kuz playing defense on Zion. I hope that doesn't end up being the 1-8 matchup because Zion will average about 30 to 27 to 30 points per game because Kuzma is not a very good defender on Zion. Zion has proven that he is a good, relatively decent, blow your shoulder, run into people. And I say that sarcastically. I know that he's one of the best in the league. He shot 13 free throws tonight, too. That always helps the cause. What do we expect from both of these teams going forward? Can we expect a Lakers rebuild, or not a rebuild, but like a revamp going forward? I think that the Lakers are going to be the type of team that's going to win the West. I think that it's fair enough now to say that they're the type of team that's going to walk away with the Western Conference. And getting home court against a team like the Pelicans, getting home court against a team like the Nuggets is going to matter. Because they are the type of team that is going to end up potentially struggling on the road. I don't really love them. They got lucky with the end of their schedule. The end of their schedule includes Sacramento in early April, Oklahoma, Golden State, Chicago. Then they play the Clippers on the 9th. But the rest of the way is pretty much a cakewalk. They only play about, I want to say, 7 playoff teams between now and the end of the season. They play Philadelphia, Milwaukee, LA are going to be pretty tough games. But the rest of the way, I think that they've got a pretty good inside track for the Lakers. All right, that's going to do it for the show. Baseball content's out. You want to go check that out. I broke down the American League East, talked about the Yankees and Rays competing for the top, talked about the Blue Jays and Orioles competing for the bottom, and how the Red Sox are stuck somewhere in the middle. Also, Sam OJ comes on tomorrow to talk about NFL Combine stuff. And then again on Wednesday, you get him twice this week to talk about the AFC West. Film Friday. That's going to be a lot of fun. And then, of course, the American League Central. And I'm going to sporadically throw some podcasts in there doing NBA shoot-around. I have a lot of fun breaking these down. And I think that it's pretty good content so far. I haven't got anybody saying that they hate it. So you don't hate it, you must love it. Also, Brendan Snow makes his triumphant return to the podcast. He's not been on this one yet, but he comes on next Monday. So a week from today, you're going to be wanting to tune in and checking that out. He's a great guy. I have a very emotional intro for him. I'm very excited to have him on Monday, next Monday, to talk about the American League West and some of the cool stuff he gets to do with the Texas Rangers. That's going to do it for the show. I'll talk to you guys again tomorrow.